engagement in education. We should be special. Just from the perspective of those things that you just from that one time, we tend to do that frequently. So we should take a look at this. They may not.
Hold on. We need to oil them. Sounds like a haunted house.
Behavioral plans are consequences. If you do this, we can use this way, this way, that's what the class.
I added slides. So this is behind tab 5, and it really starts right past it's number 2.
New everybody.
I added some slides that really start right here. I want to copy you. Oh, you did? How big is it? Been a good adjustment? Yeah. I know people that had done it. Some had really rough times. I'm sorry. Still, you look so healthy. Really? Yeah. Yeah. No. I was just sitting here.
I know. They might not. Okay, I'll just take it with me.
Sorry. No, I'm ready.
Okay, we're ready.
All right. So I'm happy to have this time with you guys today. The cabinet asked me to bring some information about how we can engage our families in the Common Core standards. And the addition of the slides is just me thinking as I've been sitting here today, wanting to make sure to make connections for you with what we have been doing and what we will continue to do. So Common Core standards is part of a bigger picture, kind of obviously, but I wanted to be explicit about that. So I added the slides, the handouts that I gave to you. So there are 4 large areas of focus for my department this year having to do with family engagement and education. The first one is that we will focus on communicating a shared definition of family engagement and education. And that definition is family engagement. You know it's family engagement and education when it's the collaboration of teachers and families that drives student achievement. Now I did put an asterisk next to teachers because in different contexts, it could, in the classroom, it's the classroom teacher. It could be the principal, it could be a district administrator, but it's a person at the school who's collaborating with those families. And the focus is on high expectations for student achievement. The reason why we want to communicate a shared definition is because it's operational as proven by APTT. It's something that we can actually act on. It's data-driven, and it supports us in ongoing program evaluation because it captures in the definition the premise of family engagement, or in the premise of APTT, which is as we increase our family's capacity to engage in their children's education, we see an improvement in their student achievement. So it's closing that achievement gap. So that's one of our areas of focus, is this communication of a shared definition. The second area of focus is continuously improving and learning from our implementation of academic parent-teacher teams. And that can be captured in the idea of fidelity to the 6 essential elements of APTT. And I still get excited about this program because it is what in research you call elegant, because it really is theory to practice, and it's got really strong foundation, a grounding in theory. And I've been able to have Maria Paredes as my mentor this year in some different contexts, and so I've continued to talk to her a lot and work with her and read the things that she suggests that I read. And so what we know is, as in many initiatives that we are doing, these elements are methods, but they're based in principles. They're things that we know that work. So, for example, the first element is a personal invitation to the meeting, but really what that's about is research in self-efficacy and applied to school reform and family engagement. And what we know is that parents want to know that they're the important people in the school, that they have relationships with the important people, and that the important people want them to be there. I mean, that's documented. That's what they really want to know. And that kind of makes sense, especially if you might not feel automatically welcome or empowered, that you want those people to be saying, come on in. Then the second and third elements of the student-centered academic data and the short-term student achievement goals, the research in self-efficacy shows that parents start to make a difference with their children's education when they understand and identify with their role. Many of our parents, honestly, they don't relate to it necessarily as their job. They think it's the teacher's job. And then the fourth and fifth elements are the targeted academic interactive parent-child activities. And I put all those descriptors on there because one thing we're learning this year is, as we implement, is that these are particular activities. They're not more homework. I mean, if you think about it, the purpose of homework is to develop a child's independent work study habits. I mean, it's to review work that they've been learning already. But the purpose of APTT activities is a parent-child activity. It's as much about giving the parent tools and resources as it is helping the child to do better in school. And so the research-based piece to that is, then there's the teacher-parent coaching, the I do, we do, you do. And the research principle that's underneath all of that is that parents have greater capacity to engage in their children's education when they believe that they can make a difference. Now, we know that a lot of our parents, they don't think they can make a difference in their children's education. So they're learning something different through APTT. And I misnumbered the last one, but parent networking is really just about, it's the sixth element, and it's about parents engaging as knowing that they're part of the academic team. So those are the first 2 areas of focus.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Are you seeing the shift in parent thinking that they can make a difference?
Yes, and we did 7 parent focus groups last year for about 150 parents, and we collected 2 different parent feedback forms we got about 6,000, and we read them, we've collated them, and I haven't produced the binder yet. I'm sort of following along in Lynn Spiller's footsteps, and each school will get a data binder with all that kind of captured. The qualitative data is just harder to get at and bring out and share, but I will have that for you guys and for Cabinet and Leadership Council. But what we do see is parents talking about specific things. They talk about, parents will come to the focus groups and say things to us like, oh, my child's in high school, if only I had known this, when he was back in 2nd grade, like his little brother or little sister is. And we hear tales of parents talking about how they use these packets in the summertime, and they see the differences in how the children are improving. So parents are talking, we've heard parents say, this is one of the most touching things to me, many parents have told us that their child tells them that the child is proud of the mom and dad being a part of their school. So there's a lot of intangible things that it's really hard to kind of capture, but we know that are making a difference in school culture and climate and student motivation and all kinds of things. So I think what you might be asking, Tiffany, is about this qualitative data, and it's part of the most interesting part of it to me, really, and I'm working with Maria to write an article, and we're hoping to kind of tell that story, you know, kind of get at that part of it. So it's not as easy to represent, you know, so.
But just as important.
Just as important. So then the third area of focus is the continued, is to provide systematic professional development support and accountability for family engagement and education, in particular for APTT. I just finished 2 days of professional development with 75 teachers, very enthusiastic teachers who came in last week and the week before, and I just feel like there's a strong foundation of support and excitement about doing APTT. The data, the quantitative data, are making a big difference. That when we see that it makes an 11 to 15% boost in ISTEEP scores, that, you know, teachers are kind of noticing it. And although we are clear to say that we're not proving this is not like a cause and effect, but that, you know, people are saying, yeah, I'd like a 10% boost in my students' effectiveness, in my effectiveness as a teacher. So then with the support, I was really happy that our Title I facilitators came to this professional development, even our brand new Title I facilitators, and also all of our parent liaisons. And so everybody is really on this, getting more on the same page about what this initiative involves. And then we have our own repository now where all of the resources that teachers would need to do APTT are up and available to them, templates for the PowerPoints and things like that. Accountability is really just about being in the classrooms, and this past year I was really impressed by the principals and Title I facilitators. You know, that's a lot of nights, you know, obviously for the teachers too, but it's a lot of nights of going into classrooms. But I went to every night, just about every night, and I would see the principals and the Title I facilitators there. So I think as we engage in more conversations, part of the accountability is just the classroom observations. Although it's not a formalized process, it's still something that just being in the classrooms makes a difference. And then the yearly program evaluation is a way that we were able to give back to the teachers. This is how we did this past year. So Lynn Spiller and I are going to be designing a program evaluation for this coming year. And then this next part, so we really want to keep what we're doing going and working, fidelity and sustainability, and the systems are in place. But the next part, this fourth area of focus, is really one of the most exciting ones to me. And that is that to see how we can apply what we've learned from academic parent-teacher teams to achieve school and district goals in this school year. So as the schools start to talk about their action plans and our departments start to talk about their action plans, we're going to be discussing at leadership the question of, you know, what have we learned about family engagement and education from APTT. It really is validated as our classroom model, and it shows us what works. And then given what we've learned from that, in what ways can we use the APTT framework to target coaching for parents of specific groups of students? Now, this is not, these are examples of possible ideas that may come out of leadership, or that individual principals may ask community education to help pilot at different schools. But some ideas might be targeting the second grade students who are at risk. We can predict that if they continue on, that they're probably going to be retained in third grade, given Move On when reading. So really, in addition to the APTT, coming in and doing targeted parent coaching, real explicit coaching for the parents, kind of like RTI for the parents, of like, this is what we need to do with your children at home, and giving them that kind of support. Nora Castañeda is really excited about what we can do with teaching parents, even parents that don't speak English, can capture some of the ideas that we are giving to our ELD teachers about language acquisition. Something as simple and as important as expressing a complete thought, speaking in complete sentences. We're talking about how we can work with targeted groups of our 4th and 5th grade students, many of whom are kind of stuck, so to speak, at that intermediate level of English language acquisition. So those are some ideas about targeted uses of that model. And then in the last bullet there, what's happening is that people are starting to come up to me and say to me, Lynn, I've got this idea. Like just now, Linda Doherty just told me that she went to a training and that she wants to meet with me to talk about how we can coach parents in ideas about diet and exercise and childhood obesity and things like that. And Gaby Ramos, who's the behavior interventionist at Mackin, has some great ideas kind of following up on the PBIS about how she wants to do what she calls BPTT, which is Behavior Parent Teacher Teams, because she really wants to take the same framework of relationship, data, goal, activity, coaching, and networking to work with those parents of those kids that are having a really hard time. And then finally, Jasmine Hyatt, who's a middle school teacher at Creighton, she was in the PD and she started sharing, and all of us were just like electrified by her ideas, because when she was a student at Berkeley, she developed this study skills unit. And so as a middle school teacher, she's aware that her kids will say they've studied for a test, and she'll say, "You did? Well, how did you study?" And it's kind of sad, but they study the way they see people on TV. So they'll go, "Well, I looked at it, that's why I was studying." So we got real excited about the possibility, and she and I are going to meet because we want to adapt what we do at APTT at middle school to really teach parents how they can teach their kids specific study skills that will transfer into high school and college. So I just see that there's a lot of creative ideas about how we're going to be able to take what's working and apply it in targeted areas. So now onto the Common Core, which is really my purpose today. Any questions about that part, our areas of focus for family engagement? So I met with Cabinet, and I met a little bit with curriculum and instruction about this, and the big question is, how will we engage Creighton families in the Common Core standards and assessments? And I'm going to show you today some of the ways that some documents of how this information is being given to families. And in talking with Cabinet, we started to think, it's really kind of a multi-tiered approach, because you want to give everyone this information about this big change that's happening, but you also want to give education at grade level kind of skills, like you want to know what is my kindergarten child, what's the difference going to mean for kindergarten, etc. And then we can still use coaching methods to help parents coach their kids on really specific elements of the Common Core that perhaps their children are struggling with. So 3 different levels of how we think we'll get this information out and engage our families: an information level, an education level, and a coaching level. So now, if you look in your handouts, we're going to go on a guided tour of some things that I got. So just in back of the PowerPoint, we're going to look at some different ways that different organizations are communicating to families about the Common Core standards. So the first one has this picture of the dad and the baby, and it says education.com on the top. It's just in back of the PowerPoint. Does everybody see that?
Yes.
So this one, when you look at it, and I'll just invite you to take a few moments just to kind of browse through this, but looking at the headers, you're going to see that this is a summary. They provide a summary of the history and rationale, so parents would kind of understand where this came from and why. Then this article provides 7 key ideas for understanding the Common Core, and for each of the key ideas, it provides a parent tip. So it says here that the Common Core standards are state-driven, and then a parent tip: find out if your state has adopted the Common Core standards. So that's the structure of this article, and the purpose is to provide a brief summary and general information with suggested parent action steps. So we wanted you to see this because it's short, you know, it's accessible, it's informational, you know, it's a good tool. So any comments or questions about that article? Okay, then the next one I put in green paper, and this one is published by Education Northwest, and it's longer for one thing. But as you look at it, you will also see a summary of the history and rationale for the Common Core. Then you see some facts. It's in the form of questions that parents might ask, including what are the benefits for parents? How are they going to be assessed? When will they be implemented? On the second page, you see the key features of English, language arts, and literacy. A lot of what we heard today on the video about instructional shifts is captured on this page. And the next page gives you the key features of mathematical practice and mathematical content. So this article is a detailed summary with general information. But if you notice on the page about math, it also provides specific examples for parents of what does this mathematical standard mean for 5th grade. So sort of what Sylvia took us through today, the MAPE question, the 4th grade math question, this is kind of giving parents kind of a hands-on. If they read it and go through it, they get sort of an experience of what it will be like. Okay, so now the third one I pulled off is from the National PTA. And I noticed as I was on Google and looking for parent guides to the Common Core, a lot of states seem to be simply adopting the National PTA guide for parents to the Common Core. So this one is just for kindergarten, but they have one for all grade levels that looks just like this. It follows the same format. And so I thought that was interesting. I wonder what Arizona's going to do. But so when you look at this, it's much more detailed. For one thing, this one document is just about kinder, so it's grade level specific. It provides an overview of key skills in both English, language arts, and math. And then it does provide suggestions both in how the parent can talk to the teacher and activities to do at home. So this is more specific and more action oriented and grade level specific. So what we're doing in Community Ed is on the next page, and this is a draft. It's in kind of a lavender color, and the first lavender page says kindergarten and 1st grade, Common Core standards in reading comprehension. So Sylvia Earle and Rosa Bereza and I sat down for a couple of days in June and started to figure out what we could do to communicate Common Core to parents. And this is the structure we came up with. So what you see are some student-friendly standards, and we combined kinder and first. If you look on the next sheet, I just wanted you to have a reference point for what we did. So the next sheet, the white sheet, is the actual reading standards for literature K through 5. And you know, if you at some point want to look at it, you'll see that for kindergartners and 1st grade students, it's a continuum that's kind of closely tied together. So we decided in our parent guide for kinder and 1st, we would just provide that continuum instead of trying to separate them out. So those student-friendly standards on the left-hand side correlate to the standards for kinder and 1st grade. And then in the middle section, you see what the parents need to know and do. And one column is devoted to ways that parents can engage their kids in responding to literature. And the right-hand column is ways that parents can engage their kids in responding to informational text. So there's more examples of that, which I won't go into just for time. But as you page through, each lavender-colored sheet is another draft. It's been really interesting to do this because it's been helping me understand the Common Core and kind of get it in my head a little better. Sylvia was thinking that this actually teachers may really find this useful in some ways. Obviously, it's a draft, and we're going to take it to curriculum and instruction to kind of get everyone's input on this. But we did one for reading foundations for kinder first. There's one for language and writing. And there's also a page, as you keep going, that we did for math. And it looks like this. So we started with mathematical practices. And so we really brainstormed. If I am a parent, this is just for kinder, not first grade, because in math, doesn't work as well to combine the 2 grade levels. So for kindergarten, what are some questions that I as a parent can be asking my child that will get them to sort of develop that character, as that one man was saying, the character of a mathematician, to act and think this way. So a lot of these things, they do transfer to parents. I mean, we can get these ideas across. The question is, in what context to do that, So those are some samples of different levels of information and ways to educate parents about the Common Core. I know it's a lot of information.
I have a question.
Okay.
I guess less related to Common Core and more just about sharing information with parents.
Yeah.
Wondering if you've worked at all with the Expect More Arizona. I know they've developed a ton of, I don't know what you call it, literature, Spanish and English, like guides to help parents ask questions of their kids so that they're on track for college and stuff like that. I don't know if we've worked with them. Can you talk to us about our relationship, or your relationship with them, the evaluation of their materials? I don't even know if any of it's...
Well, I know Pearl she's part of FELA, the Family Engagement Leadership of Arizona, the consortium, so I see her at those meetings and we've talked. I did look at all the Expect More pieces. I didn't put in a copy, but they're very visually pleasing. They're very accessible because they're very short and summarized. So it's actions that parents can take tied to each grade level. So it's good information, but it's still kind of general information. So, and if you look at it from the point of view of some of our less sophisticated parents, it's not easy wouldn't be necessarily easy to act on by myself. If I don't have an education, that might be kind of hard for me to, what would I really do with this information?
Yeah, so I thought
So I think it's really good stuff. It's just, we're trying to look at,
it doesn't really fit our community well.
Well, here's what we're suggesting is that, and I'm going to show you what we're suggesting to kind of get the ideas across, because it's like there's different levels of ways to get at it. I think Expect More Arizona's approach is informational, and we do want to provide that level of information to everyone, and we do want to do it in a way that's visually pleasing and easy to access. So I wanted to just, I'll go on and then come back to that.
Sure.
So as Sylvia and Arnie and Miriam were saying, thank goodness that the district's been so forward-thinking about the Common Core, because we couldn't even begin to talk to the parents about it with any kind of substance if we hadn't already done so much groundwork. And the fact that the curriculum and the assessments have been written and we're implementing K through 3 this year and K through 8 next year provides a solid foundation for us to now start to engage those parents. The way we're going to do it is start with leadership council discussions and really just ask them those questions. How do you want us to, what information and resources and strategies can we use to inform our parents about the Common Core standards? And then from the leadership council discussions to go out into the schools to have school site discussions with teachers. Because this does need to be something that's a grow into, not a go to. We need to develop it together in a collaborative way so that people own it and understand it and can use it when they talk to their family. But here's what I was saying, Mr. Zaragoza, is that the first approach would be informational presentations to all families. And this is where something like the Expect More Arizona handout I think is really great, because it's something you can take home, and if someone explains it to me, that I can take it home and maybe it goes on my refrigerator, and it's a few simple reminders of questions I might ask my child or things I might do with my child. So it's easy to use. So informational meetings would have the objective of providing parents with key information about the Common Core standards. So we would kind of give them what you got today in a simplified form perhaps, but what are the instructional shifts? You know, what are mathematical practices? Why are we doing this? College and career readiness. The PARCC assessment and the timeline, but just giving parents sort of like a heads up, this is coming and this is what it is. And that would be informational meetings that we might do at community council, curriculum nights, parent workshops, but we would develop these collaboratively, starting with leadership and then going to the school sites and then start to put them out before, you know, middle of the year to just have these informational meetings.
Yeah. What percentage of the parents do you think we can reach through these methods? I've been to the community council before, and I mean, some sites have much better representation than others, but even the largest ones, there's maybe like 10 moms or 10 families represented for the school. And I don't know what the infrastructure looks like from there and what if they share out, if they have a network. So I'm just curious, like, how many of our parents do you think we can reach?
Well, we want to improve the numbers that attend community council, that's for sure. And it really is about relationship and that personal invitation. We're going to attempt to do better at that this year. And I think our parent liaisons have been making those calls. But I think what's been missing is that if I get a call every now and then to come to this big meeting, you know, on the night, as opposed to I'm always in there volunteering and I'm here part of the school, and you know, it's different if I'm a part of the fabric of what's going on. And guess what? We're all going to go to this community council meeting tonight, as opposed to I get a call every now and then, you know, can you please come to this meeting tonight? And yeah, I'll come. And then I get a number. They say, okay, I'm going to send 10 parents and 2 come. You know, what happens? Well, I guess I got home and I didn't want to go. You know, I don't know. But I think that relationship bit is part of it. I also have a question I think that people are asking, and I hear this from Charlotte a lot. It's like people have to receive value, and it has to be something that means something to them. I mean, what's in it for me? It sounds self-serving, but that's kind of really what it's about. I know that the most exciting community council meeting was the February one and people were so engaged. And actually, it followed the kind of framework of APTT. I mean, it was interesting because people were invited for a specific reason to develop budget in a time of cuts in a way that would protect student achievement. They were given the data, and then they were given an activity, a goal, and an activity. We're going to cut this much. Jim did an I do. We did kind of a we do. They sat together in their groups. They did a you do, and they prioritized their personnel and positions, programs and positions, and then they shared out at the end. So when I've been thinking about this question that you're asking, how can we get people to come? And I think it has to do with they have to leave having had with value. Like, okay, that was a reason to come. So we just have to keep working on that, I think. And I don't have the solution, but I think the question is really key.
Okay. I mean, I'll take a stab and say that when you put in there that having the VIPs invite them, or like communicate that the VIPs, I think that's what you put it through.
Yeah.
Want them there, like we, the board, want the parents there.
Yeah.
In these things. So I don't know if they know that.
Well, we'll tell them.
Well, can I say that? Because I don't think all boards want that.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I
Yes.
just want to make that explicit.
So I don't know, but I think we have to make it a quantifiable goal. Honestly, I don't think this can be a maybe, wish and a hope and a prayer. I think it needs to be that we as a school district will come up, maybe I'm making this up, but out of leadership, I would want us to say our goal is to reach 80% of our parents with informational meetings about the Common Core standards before the end of the year, something like that, and measure it and really just make it happen, because it's the goal setting and the measurement that's going to get us to have a result that we can be proud of, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Right, and even if we're able to get 10 people, 10 parents from each site, it wouldn't be enough. So in terms of getting this information out, we're going to have to, I think that conversation with leadership, the question is, here's the goal, how do we reach it?
Mm-hmm.
What's already in place where we have parents already coming to the campus where we can reach them, and then what do we have to do to expand on that? and come up with some strategies to just get that base level of information out there. And of course, it would make sense for us to use some of our other tools, such as the communicator, because we know that goes beyond parents as well as our website in terms of getting some of the information out there. People, even though it's not instructional, but it is at least at the informational level, it gets it out there.
Mhm. I found some interviews with educators on Univision in Spanish about this Common Core. They're really good interviews, so I'm going to show them to the parent liaisons, and we're going to it's going to be sort of like a layered approach, a menu of lots of different ideas. But the first level is to set a goal about what percentage are we going to go for. We want to get this information to every parent this year, as many as possible. And that would be that first tier, the information, getting the word out so people are aware of what the changes are. They're aware of what a Common Core standard is. They understand that there's going to be a new assessment. It's like that. So that's the first level. So that's as wide a spread as possible. The second level would be what I called education. So if the first level is information, the second level is education. And we haven't talked about this yet, so this is me kind of surmising the way it might be. But when Leadership Council is such a collaborative and talented group of people that I'm sure there's going to be other ideas that are going to come out of that. But one idea would be grade level workshops. So sort of like one of the handouts that I showed you, the National PTA one, where we would teach that grade level, those parents, these are the changes that are happening. This is the difference in what you need to be doing with your children at home. This is the difference in how they will have to demonstrate mastery at school. And we haven't devised those yet, but that would be the idea. So then it's even more personal. It's about my child who's in 4th grade, what that child needs to know to be able to succeed. And that might happen in curriculum nights. It might happen in parent connection workshops. I'm sure there's other ideas that people will have. So information for everyone, and then grade level specific education about them. And the last one would be more on the tools, like the tools that I developed with Sylvia and Rosa, which would be in the individual APTT conference, a 30-minute conference, when the child's having trouble. Let's say it's 3rd grader, they're implementing Common Core standards this year. They could pull something like that tool out and use it as a coaching tool for the parent. It's not to teach them everything in depth about all of the standards for 3rd grade, but just to say, let's talk about fractions. This is what you can do to help your child demonstrate their understanding of fractions. So this would be a coaching model. It'd be student-centered. It'd probably be one-on-one. It could be small group for groups of students that needed the same kind of information, or parents that needed the same kind of information. But that's kind of would be the most targeted way that we would get the information out. So 3 tiers.
Yeah. I just want to share the curriculum meetings that were held this week. There was a team of people who worked on the Common Core curriculum for grade levels K through 3, and Dr. Wagner and I went to the different curriculum meetings, and they were facilitated by the teachers who had been part of the curriculum development this summer. And that was really invigorating to see the teachers who had been developing this Common Core curriculum this summer encouraging all the teachers at that grade level, because it was, for example, 1st grade people on the team providing all the information on the curriculum, but just the encouragement and the energy in that classroom from those people who developed the curriculum, saying, in 1st grade, you guys, these kids need to know blend. So this 1st quarter, because when the new assessments come, they will not be able to handle them unless you do this. So that was like a foundational step of the teachers providing information to teachers at that grade level who may not have been there this summer. So that was really an exciting thing to see, the energy in that room.
And it was clear. I saw the 2nd grade at Loma Linda, really clear information, and parents can understand that kind of clarity. They could be the same idea for the parents. So we're just beginning, but we have the foundation in place. We've learned from APTT what works, what's the combination that we need to have to, and I do have high hopes and expectations for, PTO board meeting, community council meetings. We really want to build those relationships and have more participation.
So I think this is the right time to talk about this book. So board members should have seen this book. Just want to let you all know, about a summer ago, I was on a phone call talking about policy development, and I just, having been inspired by working with Dr. Bredis and hearing about APTT, I just kept hitting the point, you're missing something really important here. Everyone agrees family engagement is important, but no one knows how to do it. But we do. And so anyway, after a couple phone calls, the researcher decided maybe I should come to Phoenix and find out what we're talking about. So I think you worked with Tyler, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I was hoping you might be able to share with the board what that was like, and now we're a household name on the Achievable Dream. Just wanted to make sure Creighton's getting some.
It's amazing.
Press.
I was she interviewed me as well as the board, cabinet, and Maria, and also Sean Hannafin, principal, and she interviewed parents too, and teachers. So it was very well thought out, very thoughtful. She's a really easy person to talk to. And I was in the room when she was when they were filming, and the thing I love about the way she wrote is that it's really personable story. You hear parents talking about the difference that it makes for them and what they do at home. I just think that Creighton does have a national profile. This is one piece of it. There's another, another piece of information. If you go onto YouTube and look up Stanton APTT, STANTON APTT, Maria is working with the Flamboyant Foundation, and Stanton is an elementary school in Washington, D.C., and it's a 12-minute clip. It's amazing. Both Jim and Charlotte have seen it. It's just an amazing picture of, the woman from Flamboyant comes on and says, and this was developed in Creighton School District in Phoenix, Arizona by Maria Paredes, and it gives you chills because it's making a difference in a lot of places. And I think this book is one example of that.
Yeah, the funny thing about that, I didn't know about this YouTube clip, but I was talking to a teacher in Washington, D.C. 3 weeks ago, and she was telling me all about family engagement and how they got it figured out. And I'm like, oh, that's a lot like what we're doing,
Yeah.
So, I don't know, I'm sure they got it from us.
I showed that clip to the teachers at the PD, and they loved it because even there were a lot of veteran APTT teachers in the room, and it's just really interesting to see how somebody else takes your framework and then does it in a whole different population of parents, and it was just really interesting to see. So, yeah. So, onward
And upward.
and upward.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Looks like we have a break until 3.
I came on time.
Carl, good question. It's kind of a mystery. I don't know what she said. She was half trip, 48 steps.